All right, thank you, Savannah. That was perfect. And thank you, TEDxEmory, and the amazing students who have worked so hard to make this possible. So thank you guys so much. And the birds raise their beaks, and the birds rise, and the dogs lift their snouts toward coffee and eggs and rise. And the children, deep in dream, pop open their eyes too big for their heads and jump up, pajama-footed. And the paperwhites and the morning glories and the small, scaly reptiles and their cold holes all feel the coming of the star that refuses to let sleep rule once she takes the sky. Poetry and painting, two of my loves, but when I called my dad the night before I had to declare a major, like panicked and sobbing that my original choice of biology with cellular and molecular suddenly felt way too small, I hadn't thought about how the things I really loved might actually intersect with a need in the world I cared about. I hadn't thought about my personal purpose. Of course, my dad says, "Oh, honey, do what you love. The money will come." And I'm like, "Yeah, but Dad, like if I major in art and minor in English, won't that mean major starvation with a minor in maybe Victorian literature?" Well, I haven't starved yet. And while I do write poetry and paint, I don't actually make a living doing those things. But I do use the creativity that drives them and drives me to do my job day in and day out. So purpose, it's the idea that captures why you hop out of bed in the morning. For me, turns out the world needs big, what if, striped and polka dotted, time-bending, goosebump-raising, creative thinking to solve its greatest challenges. So, at the intersection of my strengths and the needs in the world they serve, I exist to bring ideas to light and goodness to life. If I had known that back in college, it would have saved me buckets of sweat and tears, not to mention tons of self-doubt and stacks of self-help books that left me feeling kind of self-help-less, because my purpose guides my decisions. And I'm not talking about, do I get the mushrooms or the black olives on the pizza? But my decision to focus on serving clients in industries like energy and agriculture who face the greatest challenges and are using the biggest creative ideas to help unlock their full positive potential, those kinds of decisions. Because purpose, it's kind of like a GPS, but it's calibrated to your heart. And having that early enough to guide your educational path, you know, what classes are you going to take? What clubs are you going to join? That would be amazing. But it is never, ever too late to have that GPS help you with your route and your reroutes. So let's take your personal life. One day you might get married, you might have a baby. You're probably going to be rerouting a little bit. Your professional life, you may change careers, you may actually retire one day, probably also going to feel like a reroute. You know, or majors, you know, rerouting from studying RNA to studying Rilke and Rembrandt. That purpose will guide you along the way. In my career, in my reroutes, I've gotten to use creativity as an art director and a writer, building brands, you know, from bikes to banks. But then I decided to use that creativity to help build a company that turned purpose into a practice, working with Fortune 500 companies and government agencies, helping them understand their shared strengths in the needs in the world they could only serve together. And then doing the really, really magical part, helping them live that purpose to drive change. Because when you tap into that nuclear energy, that fission, that fusion that comes when people understand why what they do matters, you can change the world. I have spent almost half of my life working with CEOs, CMOs, CHROs, helping them drive decisions in DEI, M&A, ESG, all through the lens of their purpose to create, yes, positive impact and top performance. But purpose is not just for giant institutions. It starts with individuals, and not just CEOs or even celebrities like Dolly Parton or Oprah, who use their reach to make change in the world that they care about. But each one of us can do great things because each one of us has strengths. And the world, your world, has so many needs. And when you understand where what you love to do, your strengths, intersect with the need in the world you care about, you will never work a day in your life because you'll be doing what you love. Purpose may not be the meaning of life, but it is about the meaning of your life. And with it, you will have greater impact in your social life, in your family life, in your public life, your working life, because you'll have deeper wisdom. You'll have greater sense of wonder and like way bigger wows. So first, you have to start by saying, what do I love to do? You know, what are my strengths? What do I get praised for? It could be speaking, it could be listening, it could be negotiating, consoling, teaching, healing, connecting dots, connecting people. And then you say, how do I define a need in the world that those strengths can serve? And it can be anything from climate change to cosmetics, equity to entertainment, access to assets. And at that intersection, you will find focus, resilience, meaning. You will find purpose. That star, bright and burning, that insists you hop out of bed in the morning, insists you rise to do what you love, to better love the world. Do what you love, and the satisfaction, the sizzle, and maybe even the money will come. Thank you guys so much.